Joining us from Boston, Massachusetts, fresh off that Game 1 start of the NBA Finals, covering it and calling it for ESPN Radio. One of our favorites, PJ Carlesimo, back here on the program. How are you, PJ?
Rich, excellent. It's always good to be with you. Enjoyable. Do it. Wasn't quite as good a game as we were hoping for Game 1, but you never know what you're going to get, and then teams will adjust from that point going forward. I still think potentially it's going to be a very good series.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. In Game 1, it just seemed like, the Mavericks weren't aware that there was a first half to be played. You know, they definitely played better in the second half, and that the NBA Finals started for them kind of then. And Porzingis, I mean, that's exactly what the Celtics wanted to see out of him in Game 1, I would imagine. PJ.
Well, I'll tell you what, we were amazed. They said he was going to play, but you never knew. They were always, if he feels good, how he was. He said himself, thought he felt good. I can't believe they even dreamed he would be half as good as he was. He was just the impact player in the game. And right from when he first came in, Joe Mazzulla made a good move. I think he surprised a lot of us by not starting him. I think it was the second game in Kristaps' career that he came off the bench. And we just assumed, hey, if he's going to play, they'll start him. That's what they always do. They did not. It turned out to be a great move. He came in and first half in particular, he looked as good as he's ever played. He's been a real impact player for the Celtics, but he changed things on both ends of the floor. I thought he would really make a big difference on the defensive end. It would be a lot more difficult for the Mavs to score inside with him and Horford, who played together a little bit. But, he's such a good shot blocker. And right from when he came on the floor, he was blocking shots. He wasn't even hitting the rim. You figure somebody that doesn't play for 37 days is not going to have a good shooting touch. And he had a great shooting touch. So, hats off to Kristaps for the way he played, Joe Mazzulla for the foresight to bring him off the bench, because for whatever reason, it's hard to imagine he could play any better than he did. And he just turned the game around. He got the crowd. The crowd was obviously jacked up to begin with, but when he came on the floor, they went nuts. Even during pregame warmups, 2 hours before the game, when he was out on the floor warming up, he was getting like mini standing ovations before the game. And I said, oh man, they expect this poor guy to come back and play great. That's just asking too much. And he exceeded that. So hats off to him. As you said, the Mavs, just weren't right. You've seen these every year, Rich. That the finals, it's funny. People don't realize, first of all, you got two different conferences here. The teams in the East don't know the teams in the West as well. You play the whole year with your side, and you don't see it as much in the first 3 rounds of the playoffs. There's familiarity. Everybody kind of knows everybody. This one was strange. There were so many days off between games for both teams, and oftentimes that first game is like a boxing fight. Like you have the first round and you say, okay, now we know how it's going to go. People didn't really know what this was going to be like. And right from the beginning, the Celtics were ready. Mavs made I think both teams started out 2 for 2. I said, wow, we're going to have a shootout here. It's really going to get going. And it didn't. Celtics played really well. They played like they've been, practicing every day. Dallas played like a team that hadn't played in 7 days. And really, other than Luka, virtually all their players in the first half until about the last 6 minutes of the second quarter were kind of in a funk. They couldn't make shots. They were really impacted by the Celtics defense. They didn't dominate on the glass. They really didn't do anything that Jay Kidd could have been pleased with. They finally settled down last 4 or 5 minutes of the second quarter. And they started out the third quarter kind of impressively. They cut a 29-point lead down to 8, and then the Celtics responded, and that was the end of the game. Now, the game didn't go, the way a lot of us hoped it would go. But I still think the series potentially, Dallas has played so well. I still think that hopefully, selfishly for us, we think it's going to be a heck of a series.
PJ Carlesimo here on the Rich Eisen Show. What did easily Kyrie's worst game of the playoffs? There's just no. I mean, it's just not even. It doesn't even reflect anything that we've seen out of Kyrie so far in the winner go home phase of the season. What did the Celtics do that you saw that you think is repeatable even?
Well, they did a great job with the switching. They virtually switched every pick and roll, every dribble handoff. So they had different people on him. I don't think that as much bothered him. I really expected him, Rich. You knew the crowd was going to be on him. They're booing him every time he touches the ball. And he struggled against Boston, frankly, since he left here. I think that's the 11th loss in a row to the Celtics by a Kyrie team. But I thought it would be the opposite. He's played so well, particularly in the Western Conference Finals. And he's a veteran player. He's heard that kind of stuff before. I thought he would thrive, and you see a block right there. That kind of typified the night. Jaylen Brown did a great job when it happened to be him on him, but Celtics are unique. They have a backcourt. The two guards, Derek White and Drew Holiday, both made all defense second team. They're two of the best defensive guards in the entire league. And when you switch either Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum on them, you got great length, and you got two players who are underrated or a little better defensively than people give him credit for. And Kyrie just missed. He got off to a decent start. He might have been 3 for 5 or something like that to start. Then after that, he just missed. He missed some good looks. He had some open threes twice in the third quarter when they made a run and had it down to 8. He missed big shots that he's normally going to make. And I said, wow, Kyrie makes that. We actually have a really good game. And you say cutting it to 8 was significant, but they needed to get a little closer. They needed to, maybe take the lead or get right back in it. And they had some opportunities. It didn't happen. But I thought it was a combination of excellent defensive play and it was different people. I can't say one guy really did a good job shutting him down. It was not that. Kyrie clearly missed some shots. He's been making, and I think will make again. Would not surprise me to see him come in Sunday and, put 25, 30 points on the board and kind of quiet the crowd. Last night, he was never able to do that. They were never able to get their pick and roll game going, which has really been a huge key for Dallas between whether it's Kyrie or Luka Doncic with the ball. When they come off that pick and roll, Gafford, they're two bigs. Gafford and Derek Lively have caught so many alley-oop dunks going to the basket. And again, Porzingis and Horford took that away. They didn't double team, which I don't think it surprised Jason Kidd. They've seen a lot of different ways of playing Luka or Kyrie all year, particularly this last third of the year, which is when Dallas was really thriving. But they hardly ever doubled, so that they didn't need to rotate. They were able to stay. Wasn't always big on big. Sometimes they'd switch it, and it was a small guy going with Gafford or Lively to the basket. But the point was there was somebody with them. There was somebody to put a body on him, so they couldn't just throw those lobs up at the rim that Kyrie and Luka are so good on delivering. They ended up with single-digit assists. I'm trying to make sure I got 9 assists, the low they've had. Luka almost averages 9 assists a game himself.
That's right.
He and Kyrie together are over 15. I mean, late in the game, they were on 7 assists. Their bench players, the last 4 or 5 minutes when we had bench players on both teams, got it up to 9. I mean, 9 assists for an NBA game for one of the better passing teams in the league is shocking, but that was attributed to the defense, the switching, the fact they did not double team very much. And frankly, Dallas missed a whole bunch of shots that they normally made. So that just enabled Boston to keep doing what they were doing. And the frustration kind of mounted as the game went on with the Mavericks.
PJ Carlesimo here on the Rich Eisen Show. In the time I have left with you, you are the perfect guy to ask about the top story that came out of Adrian Wojnarowski on game day on Thursday. Since you left the Big East for the NBA, leaving Seton Hall for Portland, and one of the players that was on Seton Hall when you did that was, in fact, Dan Hurley. And how about them apples that Dan Hurley is apparently just down the street from the studio today meeting with the Lakers? PJ, what's your 2 cents on this subject matter?
Well, I think, first of all, for the Lakers, it would be an excellent choice. The Lakers are, Rich, you grow up in basketball and we've known each other for an awful long time. You say basketball jobs, the Lakers or the Celtics would be 2 of the best basketball jobs in the world, not in the United States, not in college or in the world. There's no better job, more prestigious job than coaching the Boston Celtics or the Los Angeles Lakers. Danny's had 2 years that are incredible. The job he's done at UConn the last 2 years, winning back-to-back national championships, particularly this year, because they had the bullseye on their back from day one. So much was expected. They got everybody's best shot every time they played. You can't do a better coaching job than Danny and his staff did this year. So I think he established himself just how special a coach he was. And I think for the Lakers right now, they're kind of at a crossroads. You know, in the one sense, LeBron's not getting any younger. AD's certainly going to be there, Anthony Davis, for a long time, but they need to make a splashy hire. They need to get kind of a special guy in there. They need to get somebody that maybe can turn things around. The Western Conference is so good. It was extremely deep again this year. It's going to be even better next year. Other than Golden State, who maybe are at a little bit of a crossroads themselves with Steph and Draymond and Clay getting on. Every team's getting better. Every team is improving. It's going to be even tougher next year for the Lakers. So I think if they're able to bring somebody like Danny in, I think, A, it's a great impact hire. B, they've got a young coach still relatively in coaching age who could do a great job with that team and can maybe get them back up where they can compete. I mean, they were, 6 teams ahead of them or 7 teams ahead of them in the regular season, and it's not going to get any easier next year. The challenge, of course, you've got the great thing, you've got a tradition unlike almost any other in basketball. You've got arguably, I try and be impartial, the best or the second best player in the history of the game in LeBron James, and in Anthony Davis, you got a first-team All-NBA player. So they have a fantastic starting point to go with, but they've got their work cut out for them. It's not going to be an easy job. I don't know what's going to happen. It obviously is going to be very flattering to Danny. Obviously, it's going to be a contract offer that's going to be very, very attractive. But I don't know whether this is the time for him to leave. Only he's, knows the answer to that. He's leaving one of the best. I'm prejudiced or biased. I've always loved the Big East Conference and particularly their emphasis on basketball. He's got the best job in the Big East Conference at UConn. I mean, he's just won a couple national championships. I don't know whether that makes it the ideal time to leave or the last time you would ever want to leave a situation. And I think Danny's going to have to sort that out. My understanding from Woj is that he's going out there sometime this weekend, and we're probably looking at a quick decision from both sides. I don't think it's a definite yet in terms of, I do believe when they sit down, the Lakers may make the offer if they haven't already, but I don't know what Danny's response is going to be. It's a decision I think a lot of people would love to have, but whether now is the right time or not, I'm just not sure. It just the Laker job's not going to come open very many times, so it's something I'm sure Danny's going to give it a real serious consideration and make a decision. And knowing Danny, I think he's going to make a decision relatively quickly. Rich, I don't think this is going to linger on. I was a little surprised it got out. Not surprised that Woj knew it, but there really wasn't much said about it. Now all of a sudden, it's a huge story along with the finals. But I don't think it's going to linger very long.
Yeah, I mean, it's huge when the 2-time defending national champion head coach in college gets an opportunity with the Los Angeles Lakers at the end of LeBron's career, with his son available in the draft and Anthony Davis being as good as he is, and the Lakers needing to make a splash, as you pointed out. So I guess my last question for you is, what would you counsel him about going from college to the pros, even though obviously college is a totally different beast now with NIL and transfer portals and things of that nature? What would you say to him and your thoughts on his abilities to be translatable at the next level?
I think we will get a chance to talk. I think, hopefully someone like Brad Stevens would be a tremendous resource because he's made the move. He and Billy Donovan have made the moves relatively recently. Brad's a unique perspective because he's been in the front office too. He can give Danny better insight than a lot of us can give him in terms of, what's available, how much flexibility there is in the Laker roster, what kind of moves they can make going forward right now. The one thing is you got to be on the same page with your front office, and that's Jeannie Buss and Rob Pelinka, Kurt Rambis, the people that are running the Lakers. They absolutely have to be on the same page with Danny. The biggest difference in college and the NBA is in college, once you've been there for a few years and you're established, which Danny certainly is, you are the front office. You're the general manager. You control the program. You go out, you identify the players you want, you get them to come. They come to, in this case, Connecticut to play for you. It's not that way in the NBA because of the, salary cap, because of free agency. You're not going to be able to control the roster. That's what the front office people do. And very often the teams that are successful for a long time, and I'm talking like a team like San Antonio, where I was lucky enough to be an assistant for 5 years, the Lakers with Pat Riley in charge, Golden State when Bob Myers was there and Steve Kerr for so long, and that roster stayed pretty much the same. They're on the same page. Believe it or not, and I'm sure you know, Rich, there are some teams in the 30 teams in the NBA where the coach and the front office are not necessarily on the same page. And that's the biggest adjustment. You don't control your roster. It's a players' league. Danny understands that. He's not going to be surprised. He knows coaching LeBron James and coaching Anthony Davis is going to be different than coaching anybody he's ever coached in college. But at the same time, the timing is such. It's the Los Angeles Lakers. What they've done at UConn, I hate to say it, but if for whatever reason Danny doesn't like it, they don't like him, it doesn't work out, he can certainly go back to almost any college job he wants. But is Connecticut going to be open? I mean, he's leaving one of the ideal college jobs you could ever have, and he's got one of the ideal, potentially, NBA jobs you ever have. So which one do you want to do? I always felt that if it didn't work out in the NBA, I could have gone back to college. It never had to do it. I enjoyed the NBA an awful lot. There's one thing I'm sure of. There's more NIL money in Los Angeles than there is in Connecticut.
I love that line, PJ.
Now, the NIL money is important.
This just in. Isn't it life amazing, PJ? Like, what if I told you when you were heading off to Portland? Oh, by the way, the next head coach of the Lakers is on that kid. That hot-headed kid,
right there.
That hot-headed kid, son of a coach in New Jersey, right? That's the kid. He's going to have 2 national championships, and he's going to have a generational contractual offer from the LA Lakers. Right?
He's special. He deserves it, Rich. I'll tell you what. He's not a good coach. We were lucky enough to, when Westwood won, I had 8 of their NCAA games in the past 2 years.
Yes.
He's not a good coach. He's an exceptional coach. And it certainly shouldn't be surprising growing up in that household.
No doubt. PJ, you're the man. Thanks for the time. Enjoy the rest of the finals. Look for more of my calls. You're the best.
Rich, great. I appreciate it. Thank you. Great being with you as always.
Right back at you. The great PJ Carlesimo here on the Rich Eisen Show. Everybody, turn on your radios if you're driving around needing to hear the NBA Finals. He and Mark Kestisher have got you covered. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.